first keynote speaker is Samuel Egube, and he holds an executive master's degree in business administration from the prestigious International School of Management, IESC, University of Navarra, Barcelona, having initially held a bachelor's degree in engineering with a second-class upper division in civil engineering from the University of Benin. He is a fellow of the Institute of Credit Administration, FICA, an associate member of the Nigerian Institute of Management, a corporate member of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, registered member of the Council for Regulation and Engineering in Nigeria, and an honorary senior member of Chartered Institute of Bankers. He has attended various local and international courses, including management and leadership programs at IASC Spain, INSEAD in France, Wharton in USA, and Columbia Business School, USA. He has significant experience in various sectors of the economy, including banking, business consulting, construction and engineering, training and public speaking. These experiences were acquired in very strong institutions that include Arthur Andersen and Company, now KPMG Professionals in Nigeria, United Bank for Africa PLC, NNB International Bank, First Bank of Nigeria PLC, Diamond Bank PLC, where he left as corporate banking director. He was chairman member of several company boards, mainly in the financial and engineering construction sector, advisory and media services sector of the economy. He has also served as an advisor in the Expert in Residence program of the Enterprise Development Center of Pan Atlantic University, Lagos, until he was appointed in August 2019. I'll read his appointment shortly. Samuel Egube is the author of several books in the inspirational and self-help genres. He's happily married to Edith Egube, and they have two lovely children, David and Elizabeth. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me as I welcome our first keynote speaker, the Honorable Commissioner, Lagos State Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. A round of applause. I thought it would be louder after hearing everything in his profile. Thank you very much for the standing ovation.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to be in the midst of so many women at the same time. I count it a privilege to be here, actually, and I need to thank and acknowledge the founder, Yvonne Ofodili, who approached me and gave me the opportunity to be here. I will just have a conversation, and a genuine conversation. I will be speaking, first of all, as a human being, and then I will speak as a man, and I will speak as a man who has had several women around him. So it's impossible, right, to make progress on the earth without the support of women. And I have a lovely wife that I was fortunate to gain her acceptance as husband. And it's difficult to speak to my stability without talking about her. I've had bosses, right? Next slide. I've had bosses in my life who are women. And it's hard really to talk about my career without talking about some of those bosses. I have a little daughter which I have to answer to. Many times she asks me why. Why must things be like this? And I know that I need to tell her why. Because I need to train her up to understand that as a woman, she's free to succeed, she's free to make progress in life, and she's free to ask that important question, why? Right? We're a family of 7, and I have one sister. And so when you have one sister, she's indeed a very powerful person. She's the one that will say, I have challenges with this lady that you've brought around. Have you considered this and that? And as a lady, she has thrived on the earth and worked successfully in very, very difficult and challenging environment successfully. I was born in Delta State, schooled in Edo State, did my NYC in Kaduna State, and built a career largely in Lagos and Rivers State. What that means is that I've had opportunity to encounter different cultures, encounter different forms of people, encounter different ways of living, faced several challenges in life, and different in flavor from location to location. So when I'm here today and announced as the Commissioner for Economic Planning for Lagos State, remember that I have Delta State as my state of origin. I have Edo State as my state of schooling. I have Kaduna State as my state of service to the country. And now I have Lagos State as the place where I now have an opportunity to serve the people. Sometimes people ask me, what is a Delta man doing in Lagos cabinet? And I tell them that if you define it that way, then the question will be right. But by my last count, there are over 300 tribes of people that call themselves Lagosians. Now, it is difficult for a Delta man to serve in the Lagos cabinet, but it is, as you can see, possible for a Lagosian to serve in the Delta State cabinet, even a Lagosian who is born in Delta State. So Nigeria is a land of opportunity, but I can tell you for sure that when you mention Nigeria, people want to run away. There are people that want to run away, but there are some people who want to come into Nigeria, right? And the only thing common is that some of them believe they cannot overcome the challenges that Nigeria presents. But some others thrive in the midst of this challenge. I was speaking somewhere and I said, some people, the only problem they have in this life is the Nigerian police force. Yet, some other people, the only opportunities they have gotten in this life came as a result of the interaction with the Nigerian police force. Therefore, when I speak about the opportunity of Nigeria, I'm speaking about opportunities that also present themselves as challenges. For example, we are the highest oil producer in Africa, but what that means is that we also are likely to have the highest oil spill in Africa. It also means that just by the reason of the fact that we produce oil, in that space, certain people feel discriminated against, and yet certain people has risen against all the discrimination that they have faced to become leaders and champions in that space. 9th largest proven gas reserves in the world, yet we still need to import gas, right? And that importation of gas, which is coming as a result of our weakness, becomes the opportunity for the gas importer. Every time I drive the street of Lagos, and I feel the pain and the challenge of the economies of people, I wonder why the cranes are still rising up, the buildings are still going up, people are still in enterprise making progress despite the challenges. But I learned that money like matter does not get destroyed. It changes direction. And when it changes direction, if you are not in the path where it has changed direction to, it's very likely that your experience with money will be a tough experience. We have very huge and diverse solid mineral resources and reserves. Yesterday night, I was talking with a lady who was going into a meeting with the Association of Women Miners, and there she was carving out for herself a system of network that will give her the advantage because she has become an investor in the mining environment, a place that many men dare to approach. We have a very supportive ecosystem. When I mentioned this to my wife said, I don't think the ecosystem is as supportive as you think. But the news just said we've run and gotten past Nairobi in Lagos in terms of our supportive nature, how we support ecosystem, especially in Lagos, right? But that experience also is different from people to people, the way they go. And we'll talk a little bit about that and why leading e-commerce environment in Africa as well. Over 200 million people. A lot of those people could either be against you or be for you or be neutral, right? But there are 200 people, which some people see as a market. Some other people say, well, 200, but they are not effective market. But these 200 people have made some people very, very rich, and these 200 people have made some people very poor. I had a friend who flew in from the UK once and called to say he wanted to have a candid conversation with me. The long and short of that conversation, he says, I want to express my thanks to the poor. And I said, what does that mean? He said, because it appears that the poor has put a lot of food on my table. It is true that there's a lot of tillage in the land of the poor, but there's a reason why he's poor despite the opportunities in his land. I can tell you the truth, that poverty is a habit. You may not know it. It's the way we think, right? It's not necessarily the money in the bank, but it will eventually influence what goes there and what comes out. Talking about poverty, you find out that in our experience in banking, the poor pays more for loans than the rich. I hope you understand that. They can pay 10%, 20%. They can borrow 10,000 naira and pay 20,000 naira. The rich will never do that. The rich will never do that, right? The poor is the man, when he sees a buffet, he doesn't believe there will be food next time, so he fills his plate. He doesn't even believe he can go there many times, right? He believes his opportunity comes but once, right? But the rich knows that there are opportunities all the time. And the fact that you have lost one opportunity does not make you does not stop you from dusting up yourself and going after the next. We are the 7th most populous country in the world. We have 50%, about 50% of our population as women, right? Which means that even in number, women folks, our men folks are not in the disadvantage if number is all that you are going to count, right? And 65% of that population is under 25 years, which means it's a young population that do not need to be strangled by the strategies or by the culture of our history, but they are able to rise up thinking in new ways as to what the future holds for them. This is the place where the spirit of enterprise is extremely strong, right? And we represent one of the largest markets in Africa. But it was not always like this, when I talk about opportunities. In the beginning, the earth was without form, right? The earth was without form. It was chaotic. It was unsupportive of good business. It neither supported men or women. It was dark, and there was no light. And God introduced mankind. Now, that word man is not really male man. It's mankind, because it was out of that mankind that woman came out. And woman came out basically, it was God's idea as a solution to a chaotic world. Therefore, woman needs no permission to make a difference, right? Woman needs no permission to make a difference because woman was brought out as an additional solution to the earth. When we look at Lagos, for example, from the air, the next slide, you will find that Lagos looks really much like a very beautiful city. And indeed, it is a beautiful city if you are looking at it from the air. Where the challenges of Lagos is when you begin to interact with different people on the ground. Every single house you see there is built by someone. There's someone behind it. The person faced all the challenges that life had to throw at him or her, and yet these buildings were built. If you look at the next slide, you will see Lagos at night, right? This is a city that you can compare with any city around the world, right? In those days when you want to talk about progress and productivity, you need to show the images of other cities. But today, we can show the images of Lagos, and the truth is that every light you see switched on there was switched on by someone. The question is, what light are you going to switch on for Lagos? What light are you going to switch on for Nigeria? Switching on the light is not that easy. Building the house is not that easy because there are all kinds of challenges that face any human that tends to do that, right? There are challenges around gender and how the genders play together to create outcomes. Someone was saying, I think it was His Royal Majesty Sanusi, and was saying, when we see people say the presidency will come from the north, right? The reason why we say so is because we screen out immediately everybody from the south. Then when you go further and you say, it will come from the Muslim north, what you do is you then screen out everybody in the north that is from the Christian north. And then you probably look at yourself a little bit better and say, okay, how will it favor me some more? You say it will come from the core north, right? So it's just a system of exclusion that keeps on coming again and again, right? And all you need to do, just make sure you are not on the side where you are excluded, you are on the side where you are included. And it's your right to include yourself because life tends to naturally exclude you from your possibilities. This gender challenge, it is men fighting men in any way they can, on the ground of religion, on the ground that you are a man, on the ground that you are from the south. It's women fighting women. On any ground, when a woman says, what does she have that I do not have, it's trying to exclude you from something. It is men fighting women, and it is women fighting men. And all this fight is to gain one form of advantage or the other. Oh, the woman's place is in the kitchen. That is true, but that is if the tradition says your place is in the kitchen, and you also permit that narration that indeed your place. There's nothing wrong with the kitchen. A lot of things comes out of the kitchen, but it depends on whether that is the definition that you have embraced as a woman for yourself. If they say your place is in the other room, right, it depends also on whether you accept that as your place. I was talking to a woman some time ago, and she says, I'm satisfied in life once I can take care of my husband and take care of my 4 children. I have done very well. And I say, you lie, right? The capacity which you've been endowed with goes beyond your husband and 4 children. You have a nation to take care of. You have cities to take care of. You have an enterprise to build. You have people to employ. But of course, if you embrace the idea that that is the scope of your productivity, then that is fine. It means that is the enterprise that you've limited yourself to. So you find limitations in poverty exclusion, because the fact that you are poor tends to exclude you from some things. There are social limitations, there are religious limitations, there are gender limitations, there are political limitations, there are economic, cultural, geopolitical exclusion. Now, if you keep on emphasizing to me that I'm from Delta State, then you are trying to exclude me from Lagos. And I won't accept that, That's why I'm still here, because I refuse to accept that principle of exclusion. So all of these things are wars warring against us. The next slide. And we must understand that they are not for us. They are against us. And you must stand stronger and above a thing to be able to lift it up, right? You cannot serve 2 masters. You cannot serve God, and they say you cannot serve Mammon. But the truth is that in this mastership story, the devil was not mentioned, you understand? So the devil is not strong enough as a master to stop you, right? Even though some of us have embraced the idea that a lot of our problems originate from the devil. But you know that sometimes the devil starts a problem and you use money to stop it, isn't it? There are some problems that the devil can start that you will use money to stop it. You don't even need to pray about it. The productivity of woman, the productivity of man is strong enough to stop him, right? Therefore, the devil is really not the problem. It didn't also say you can't serve God or man. So man is not declared here as a master. Therefore, man cannot define for you your limitations and your reach. Right? It did not even say women are the master. So another woman should not be in a position to define your limitation. The truth is that if God is confident enough to prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemy, it means that your enemy, anyhow you have defined your enemy, is inconsequential in the scheme of things. Therefore, We must be able to rise up, right, and call our enemies for who they are. The truth is that the biggest enemy you will find, which is in the next slide, is in this saying that excuses are the tools of the incompetent, monuments of nothingness, and those who use them are not wise. There is nobody who is succeeding that comes to the table with an excuse. It's only people who are failing. It does not matter how great or acceptable your excuse for failure is, it will only attract sympathy and not promotion, because you must repeat the exam even if you failed with good reason. So if success is what you are aiming at, then make sure your affinity with excuses is completely destroyed. Now, these excuses sometimes are legitimate excuses. These excuses are visible excuses. These excuses are real excuses. I'm not talking of fake excuses. But the day you embrace your excuse as a legitimate power to stop you on your track, then that excuse indeed will stop you. It will become the devil that you know. It will become the man that you know. It will become the woman that you know. And therefore, I take it as a cardinal principle that when I begin to generate excuses, I need to stop, because excuses are very interesting. They are very nice to have. They are emotionally stabilizing. Some of the first lessons in life we learned were lessons around excuses. Who broke the cup? It's not me. But that does not stop the fact that the household has been deprived from the cup that was broken. Therefore, if we are going to embrace excuses, then we will not make a lot of progress. Next slide. We won't make a lot of progress. Today, the Cabinet of Lagos has people from diverse positioning. You have people from Delta, you have people from Katsina, you have people with their origin from Anambra, you have people from other southwest states, but they are all here. To do what? To solve the challenges of Lagos. You have architect Kabiru Abdullahi from Katsina, right? You have Joe Ibokwe from Anambra, right? You have Samuel Egube from Delta, right? Now, these people, by their names and by their state of origin, will be legitimate excuses why they cannot serve the people of Lagos. But somehow, they are serving the people of Lagos. And I can tell you that when Joe Ibokwe is sitting, he's the special advisor on drainage, right? He's not thinking about the traffic in Onitsha, right? Or what is happening in the construction industry in Nnewi. He's thinking about the drainage. He's thinking about the idea that Lagos, even though it is low-lying, when Germany goes down in floods, and when the Netherlands goes down in flood, Lagos stands up strong in the midst of the same chaotic climate change environment, and we do not falter and we do not fail. It is that idea, even though we know that it is challenged, you hardly see that sub-nationals are able to do rail lines. It is the audacity, the courage that makes it possible for us to do the red line, rail line, which is 32 kilometers from Agbado to Oyigbo. And when that rail line is complete, it will have about 10 overpasses, bridges over it. It will completely change the skyline of Lagos, right? It will have about 8 rail stations, world-class rail stations, but that is because we refuse to submit ourselves to the realistic argument that sub-nationals cannot get rail lines going. But in that same cabinet, we have a lot of women. We have young, we have mid-age ranges. We have people like Sholakwe Hammond, right, who drives investment, right? She's a champion in her own right. You have people like Abisola Olusonya, who drives Agric. We call her the encyclopedia of the food systems, right? We have people like Jibola Ponle, and we have distinguished commissioners like Bolaji Dada, who drives women affairs. And I'd like to welcome her as she comes in very graciously. We have all of these people in play, right, just to make things better. And I can assure you, right, when Bisola Olusoya is talking, I do not remember that she's an indigenous of Lagos, but she is. I only see the skills and capacity which she brings to the table. So the truth is that darkness is not the absence of light. You know, when light goes off, darkness does not come from outside into the room. It was always there, right? Both dwell together, and it depends on what you switch on. That's what you will experience. So, Yvonne, whenever the man is making jokes, laugh around the joke, because that's all it is. It's just a big joke, because you are going somewhere to happen, and you don't need jokes to get there, okay? So it's true. There's darkness on the earth. It's true also that there's light. But the question is, what will you switch on? Which of the two will you embrace as your experience? Right? As a person thinks in his heart, that is how that person is. The fact is that it is not what we go through that makes us happy or sad, but it is the meaning, the interpretation our mind gives to what we are going through. I had a boss some time ago, a strong fighting man, who had several resisting challenges within the corporation where we both served. And when he's discouraged and someone blocks his way, he comes to me and he tells me, but the man is not God. And he has proven again and again and again that that person is just a man, right? A man that is as vulnerable as himself to make progress. And he's going to make progress irrespective of what that man does say or does to resist him. I must confess, though, that putting the blame successfully on others is psychologically comforting, but it is meaningless in its contribution to our progress. Every time you are successful in blaming someone else for your own challenge, you remove from yourself the power to determine the outcome of that challenge. So I define irresponsibility as a man giving up his right to influence his circumstance by putting the blame completely outside himself. So women who have been successful are not flukes. They didn't become successful by accident, but they insisted that they have a right to be on the table. Challenges are not designed to stop you. Exams are set for your promotion, not your failure. Your lecturer who taught you set that exam because he felt you will pass and you'll be promoted. Relate with these challenges, relate with your exams as messengers of good tidings coming to announce to you your next promotion. If we look at history, right, there have been women that have led in the past, people like Amina of Zaria. So she was a general in the army in the north. Now, what was the culture? I mean, today you say, oh, in the north, the women are cow, the women are in Puda, the women are not, they are covered, they are that. But no, but Queen Amina was in the north. She was a general at that time. Tradition has evolved so much, but even at that time, I'm not sure what kind of opposition she faced to rise up to become general. What it means is that any tradition, any culture that stands in your way, take it as a big joke and conquer your space irrespective. Queen Emota of Benin Kingdom, till today, her statue still stands strong at Ring Road. Why? Because of her confidence, her ability to save the king, right? And her loyalty. When we talk about Queen Moremi, right? Who is she? She was a woman, right? Do you think that she was born and she did not have all of those prejudices that we all face as women? Yes, she did, right? They criticize us for even our progress. In those days in banking, when you do very well as a woman in banking, they say, oh, you've been sleeping around with a lot of men, right? I say, okay, if sleeping was the way out, then prostitutes will be CEOs, isn't it? Right? But it's deeper than that, right? What it takes to succeed, what people do is when they do not understand or they don't have an answer to make progress like you are, they begin to criticize you. They say you're sleeping around. You are using connection. What else would you use? Is it not connection? Why are we going to have a networking party after this? Because we need each other and interdependence, right? It's the hallmark of relationship leverage, and we must continue to do that. They say you are from a well-to-do family. Is it anything bad from being from a well-to-do family? But I can tell you, I've seen people that are not from well-to-do families that are also winning. I've seen that in every city of the world, every village, even the poorest of villages, you always have a money lender, isn't it? Where does he get his own money to lend to other people? Right? So many times, these are just excuses. You know, I was talking to someone once, and he said to me, I was teaching them about productivity, and he said to me, I was in Ekiti. He said, Ekiti is a civil service town. I said, so what does that mean? Right? Because, you know, when you make a statement, sometimes those statements are strongholds in your mind. I said, what does that mean? He said, because there's no money in Ekiti. I said, that's why you have this experience. I said, are they millionaires in Ekiti? He said, yes. Where are they getting their own from? Even in the midst of poor people, if you provide services to the poor, right, you can become extremely wealthy from that. Ask Baba Ijebu. Right? He calls his business the stock exchange of the poor. And I'm sure he's richer than a lot of us sitting here, right? Right? Men are giving you the advantage. That is also a problem, isn't it? They say men are giving you the advantage. Meanwhile, some other people say men are the problem, isn't it? So whoever gives you the advantage is good. The important thing is that you are winning. You are winning. You are networking. You are pushing the needle in front. Some people say you are a gossip. You are a cheat. Yeah, it's because you are ahead of them. So the idea is that critics will always focus on what you did, while you should focus on what you are about to do. You must always be ahead of the critic. What I would say, next slide, is that performance discriminates. So why explain your non-performance when your performance is what is required? When you spend time explaining why you are not doing well, how that the life is against you, some other people, like you know, God does not leave himself without a witness. So there will be people like you everywhere that are doing well. So don't put yourself in the midst of people like you who are not doing well. Put yourself in the midst of people like you who are doing well. My mom always says, follow the correct example, right? It doesn't mean that the bad example is not correct, right? It does not mean that the bad example is not factual. It does not mean that the man who was supposed to give the contract did not try to abuse her. But there were other women who they tried to abuse, but they won. And they are now at the top, commanding the affairs of their life. So I would say just perform, just perform. You know, someone came to meet me the other time and says he disliked the fact that in church they put wealthy and successful people in front. I said, but why are you complaining? Do you like the front seat? He said, why not? Then just succeed. Just succeed. It's not a bad place to be, right? There are women of substance. You have Dora Akunyili. This was not a woman that was just fighting men. She was fighting drug barons, right? That's a different kind of fight, right? This was a woman that was not scared of the nozzle of the gun, right? This was a woman like you, right? Margaret Ekpo, who was a reformist, a changer, or Aderonke Kale, the first female major general. Do you imagine what she would have gone through to become a female major general, right? She had no history behind her. A lot of us, we have history. You can point to her today. She has given you the permission to become a general, but she only got her permission from God and from her mind, right? These are the kind of examples we need to follow. If they can do it, then who else better to do it than you? You should be the next person to do it. You must have the audacity to be better. And one of the things you will face is exclusion. Trust me, we face exclusion too, in different forms, right? It says that the race is not for the swift, right? Or the battle is for the strong. He said, but time and chance happens to all. I like that part because it means that all of us have time and all of us have opportunity. It is the opportunity that you prepare for that you will have the chance for. So the race does not really belong to the swift. The race belongs to all of us. It's just that it is the swift that will win. And I'm so excited that in those days, where everything you needed to achieve in life, you achieved by raw strength. Today, you achieve by raw brain. And brain is neither female or male. We've seen brain in action, right? I remember once I was sitting in the bank and I was about to take a difficult transaction for an oil company. And when the team came in, right, it was a guy and 3 ladies. When we sat down and started to talk and you saw the smoke coming out from the minds of these ladies, you would not be thinking about sleeping with them. The thing coming from their brain is so hot, right? Right? You will not. Okay? So when you move as a lady of substance. Someone who has something to say and needs to be listened to. Right? It doesn't matter how the other party's mind dances around. You have your objective and you will not be cowed down. The second thing that we need to look at very critically is relationship management. Now in life, right, life is a marketplace of relationships. Even God will not do anything without going through a relationship. Now, the relationships are very interesting, and I have books that I've written on relationships. One of them is Relationships Are Value Proposition. The truth is that relationships are actually value propositions. So what value do you bring to the table? Unfortunately, again, let's go to tradition, right? A lot of us have been trained to say the only value you have is your body. And which is why when you are being beaten by another female competitor, you tend to analyze the fight around your anatomy rather than the extra thing that is making you lose in that particular event. So you must build your relationship capacity around the value you bring to the table. And everybody has value, right? And it is that value that we need to determine. But don't forget, value is not measured by the giver. Someone will say, after all I have done for him. No, or after all I have done for her. That's history, right? Investments do not think about historic data only. They only use historic data to analyze future forecast. So it is what you could not do for her that made her leave the relationship, not what you did, right? But it is so. You are not the only judge of relationships. Even your parties and counterparties are judges too. So I say it is the recipient of value that measures the value you bring to the table. It's not you. I was talking to some married couple recently, and the wife says, he does not love me. And I said, but he told me how much he loved you. So I called the man and said, your wife says you don't love her. And he said to me, but I just bought her a deep freezer. And she said, is it my own? Is it not all of us that use it? It is the recipient that measures value, right? And therefore, if you need a network, a relationship network, one of the first things to ask is what value can I bring to the table before this counterparty? And if you exercise yourself and develop your capacity enough, you would. Which is why I beg is not an investment language, right? If you beg me, I will give you money from my pocket. But if you told me how much you will make me money, I'm likely to go and borrow money and give it to you. So how valuable are your networks? And how are you building your relationships? Because it's not enough to be female. If you do not have relationships that are strong enough to deliver your objective, then your objective will never be deployed. Sometimes your friends will create the value for you. But sometimes your enemies would create the value that you require. Sometimes it's a man that will open the door. Sometimes it's a woman that will shut the door. Now, whether it's a man or a woman that shuts the door, If going past the door is your objective, then figure out another way of winning. Because winning means you do what is necessary. Some people say, I have done my best. I said, your best is not what we need. We need you to win. And that acronym WIN is what is necessary. Even sportsmen know that their personal best is just an illusion. Because what they called their best yesterday, they beat that record again tomorrow. Which means what they thought was their best yesterday was not actually their best. The next thing I will say is important is participation. Many times we exclude ourselves by refraining from participating. And the reason why we refrain from participating is because we have come to the conclusion on the idea that we will not be admitted, right? And so we say we will not participate. But the truth is that if you do not participate, you cannot be a part of growth. You cannot be a part of development. You cannot be a part of governance except you participated there. So even if they try to exclude you, the biggest sin you will ever make is if you exclude yourself from an objective that you like, right? So as you gather yourself, you must be keen to rescue yourself. You must participate in your own rescue. Like I said, time and chance happens to all. It is the competition that gave one glory that made the other one fail. The same competition. The swift were not born that way. What did they do in their time so that when the race came, they became fast? So time and chance are common to all of us. Where we achieve in life or where we reach in life is a function to what we did with time and chance. Some people say, but it is chance that I need, right? The truth is that it is what you exercise yourself for that you will have opportunities for. Because opportunities will always come in the area of your mindfulness. It is your exercise. It's what you do. It's what you rehearse. It's what you practice. It's that dream that you hold on so dear to your mind that gives you the opportunity. We walk past various opportunities every day. But because we are not exercised for it, we are not looking for it, we miss it. I used to be in the wood business, furniture component export. And wood doesn't smell well when it is wet, right? But that smell, to me, is like money, right? So when you see wet wood, you will close your nose, right? Like a lot of you do when you are passing through the third mainland by the wood. But I take a deep breath because it reminds me of what wood export can do in your pocket. But I do not trade rubber. So one day I was traveling with my brother who is a rubber trader, and chrome rubber smells. So when we passed a particular wood shop, he closed his nose. And I smiled with deep breath. And he said, why am I smiling? I said, because this smell is the smell of money to me. How many of you know that new notes don't smell nice? But I'm sure you like the smell, nevertheless. Right? You like the smell, nevertheless. I didn't know how much joy a credit alert could bring until it happened to me one day. I was angry in the office, rebuking everybody around me for the wrong that they have done. And in the midst of that anger, I got a credit alert. You won't know the capacity you have to forgive when credit alerts come into your phone. So opportunities come in the area of your mindfulness. It is what you are rehearsing that you have opportunity for. What do you do with your time so that when your chance comes, you will be ready to take it? What kind of chance are you looking for? And how are you preparing for it, knowing that it is on its way? Like I said before, to win, it is not your best that is required, but what is necessary. If everyone will get to the top without winning, then the top will be overcrowded, isn't it? So all of these challenges are working in your favor to ensure that the few of you who will conquer them will be at the top, because the top is always a pyramid, and the principle of the earth is not that of an inverted pyramid. It's always a pyramid. It's everyone. It's a few that get there. But the important thing is don't exclude yourself from it. Fight for it. The meaning you give to a thing is as important as the thing itself. So when things happen to you, there was a story of a guy, I'm sure some of you have heard the story. His life did not turn out well, and a professor was investigating it and trying to establish the fact that it's your family background that can help you. And the truth is that his mom was a drug addict, his father was a semi-criminal, almost criminal, and of course the guy ended up in jail. He was a criminal himself. And they interviewed him, and the last question was, so why did your life turn out like this? And his answer was, how did you expect my life to turn out given the kind of family that I grew? So that was cool. The man, as professor, had proved his case, so he was putting together the thesis. And in searching for additional information, he found out that this guy had a twin brother who was a professor in another city. So it challenged the hypothesis, and he went to discuss with the guy. But the story was the same. His background, his parents, drug addiction. And of course, at the end, he asked the same question. So why did your life turn out like this, given this situation? And he said the same answer. How else would my life have turned out, given the family that I came from? So it is not the family that you came from that determines your outcome, it's how you respond to it. One responded, conformed, and was in jail as he should be. The other one did not conform, responded differently, and is a professor as he should be. Like I always say to people, like that if the outcome of your life was completely out of your control, then God would be unfair to judge you as a result of the outcome of your life, right? So there's a lot more control that we have. So meaning informs our biases, the meaning we give to things, what to expect out of life. Resilience is exactly how you want to respond to those changes. I mean, sometimes if you see impossible and you think the task of changing impossible to possible is to remove the entire word impossible and replacing it with possible, it might be a more difficult job than just getting the insight that if I removed I and M, I will be left with possible. So what you are seeking is probably resident in what you are rejecting. You just need to know how to work it to get there. But we have a lot of women in history that has given you permission to succeed. We have people like Okonjo-Iweala, DG World Trade Organization, Ellen Sirleaf, who was former president of Liberia. You have Chimamanda Adichie, who is a writer, and I've read her novels. The first time I saw her, I held her in awe because of her writing. And how many of you know that Lionel Messi is a short man? But you know you never analyze him based on his height. You analyze him based on the mastery in the football field. So forget what you consider are disadvantages. Emphasize what you have. God does not require what you do not have to get you there. He will always ask you, what do you have? Right? Bola Adesola, my former boss, she's just everywhere as leader, right? Right? Bell Hooks, an activist and writer. Oprah Winfrey, the lady that said that she doesn't look good for TV. But I think she looks pretty here, right? Right? The truth is that when you are successful, pretty comes. I've never seen an ugly person operating in her place of proficiency. And excellence is not a gift. Excellence is rehearsed, is practiced. When the air hostess is announcing what she has practiced, the image in your mind, is it an ugly lady? You just feel this person talking like this must be beautiful, isn't it? When the choir is singing in church, you hardly identify an ugly person there. It's not because they are not less beautiful people, but because you are interacting with them in the place of their proficiency. Therefore, we must have proficiencies in all the things we do. And at the end of the day, everybody that is proficient is beautiful. is gorgeous, is audacious, and has access. Because if you are proficient, it is true that that gift will bring you before kings. Whether they are female kings or male kings, it will shall bring you there. And it will bring you there in good light. Right? And there are several that we can talk about. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General, UN, Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, and several. Look at the president of Ethiopia. So it's not only white people president that you see women there. Right? So let them not exclude you from anything. The future of Nigeria is a great future. It's a future where women will no longer feel scared to take their place. It's a future where women will no longer acknowledge men as their enemy, but will use men also to work for them. I don't see any great man, good or bad, that does not have a woman whispering to his ears. Right? There's always a powerful woman talking to every man. Right? Therefore, we have a place that we must take. We must not exclude ourselves because we must be part of the renaissance of our dear country. Women will begin to take their rightful place in that future Nigeria. Women will become both kingmakers and kings in their own right. Right? I think that God has put it within the woman that we should not fail. Right? And I believe that there are certain things that God has put for women to deliver, meaning that God did not assume that the women folk will be weaklings, will be timid, will be unable, will be disqualified. Right? The days of disqualification are the days of darkness. Let your light shine in the midst of dark places. It's important that you begin to participate. If you start life believing that your vote will not count, then there's no need to go for the election. There's no need to join the wards. There's no need to politic. If you always will give up because you failed the first time as a result of the opposition that you faced, either from men or from women, you will not be called a success. All of these women I have talked about, I'm not sure they succeeded after their first attempt. Even the men, I can tell you a streak of failures in my life. It's just that when you become successful, your failures are all forgotten. So it is important, like Mr. Governor said, that in providing leadership, he takes it as cardinal rule that true power lies beyond the ballot box and goes into continuous engagement, which is why I said it was nice to be here, because this is engagement. We must continue to speak to ourselves. You must continue to protect your dream. Where there's no dream, the people become unproductive. Without a dream, people will cast out restraint. So what dream are you working for? What's your vision? Who do you think you are? And what are you building around that image you have for yourself? If when you look at the mirror, you see an ugly thing, change the mirror. And keep on looking until what you see is fine. I have seen ugly women become fine just because they become increasingly successful. Right? Success has a way it beautifies you, just like excellence. You understand? Sickness doesn't look good on anybody, just like poverty does not look good on anybody. So if your objective is to be beautiful, then all you need to do is succeed in the area of your engagement. Gain proficiency. Even if all you can do, there was a lady that looked like an average lady who came to me once. I didn't think she was beautiful until she told me she could speak 5 international languages. Then she started to change before my very eyes. So once proficiency is present, once excellence is present, right, beauty comes with it naturally. If purpose is unknown, then abuse will be inevitable. So fight for the love of your dream. Your knowledge and your remembrance of who you are is determined by the understanding you have for your dream. Of course, different cars are used for different purposes. So even though Ferrari is expensive and the bulldozer is expensive, they do not perform proficiently in all circumstances. The Ferrari is not very good when it comes to moving weights, and the bulldozer is not particularly good when it comes to speed. Every ship is driven by mighty winds, but those winds do not determine the destination of the ship. It is the captain, the person, and that is you, who determines the direction of your ship. Our lives will eventually conform to our gaze and to our practice. Some of us spend a lot of time practicing our weaknesses. You spend a lot of time emphasizing that spot in your face. You leave the entire face. You know, you are used to the parable of the lost coin where they abandoned 9 coins to look for that one. Forgetting the fact that if you held the 9 and are happy with the 9 and you traded with the 9, you will earn that additional one that is coming. So one of the things I would like to just say as I close is this quote, which my colleague, the senior special assistant to the governor on DPD, she's young, she's under 30, but she's already the senior special assistant to the governor of Lagos State, right? She's sharp. When you see her, you know she knows what she's doing. When she's sailing, all you see is her intelligence and her sharpness. She's here today not because of the program. She's here today because I want her to be around me as one of key resource people that supports my success. Now, but she's a young lady. If you tell the story of another young lady like her, she will say, I'm too young. It's for senior ladies like the Commissioner for Wealth Creation. I'm dark. It's for light complexion ladies. You know, you keep on emphasizing the things that stand in your way rather than embracing what supports your cause. Every time you go to the court of life and they say, are you guilty or not guilty? You are supposed to say, I'm not guilty. And let your lawyers argue for you, not against you. So the principle of life requires that when you are facing challenges in life, look for the things that speak to your strengths, not the things that speak to your weakness. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And I like this. This is what you should hold as your reality, that you are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And it is true. I remember in school, when I resolved in my mind to make a second-class upper, it was burdensome. It was easier for me to give up that dream. Because any dream that you have that is a high calling comes with a burden. You need an encouragement to give it up. Because when indeed you get that encouragement, you will feel relief. When you decide, for example, that you do not want to marry a successful man anymore, anyone is okay, it comes with relief. When you decide that, listen, you don't have to have first class anymore, it comes with relief. When you decide that your target in life is not to make $1 billion, but a few millions, it comes with relief. Because the high calling comes with responsibility, comes with burden, and comes with sacrifice, which the average person is usually unwilling to go. Like I tell people that average is the enemy within, because there is going to be many people like you. When you are doing exceptionally well, they say you are a FICO, isn't it? A FICO is not supposed to be a good word, yet you are excelling. Why would they use a bad word to categorize someone who is excelling? Because the earth is not organized to support excellence. So when those comments come on you, know that you do not belong there. You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world any good. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us. It's actually in all of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission. So when Okonjo's light started to shine, he gave all of you permission to also shine. Right? We need to honor the heroes past who did not have a history of shining behind them, but determined to shine nevertheless. Let our presence, let our audacity to win, let our progress in life be to you the liberation of other girls and women coming behind. Thank you very much.